Welcome back, class. Today's explainer is your ultimate masterclass on a very specific and honestly a pretty terrifying zoonosis, Hydatid disease. As your level 3 animal care tutor, my top priority today is getting you fully geared up for your unit standard 19894 assessment. We really need to unpack this parasite because look, as future animal care pros right here in New Zealand, you guys are literally on the front lines keeping our country safe from this thing. So let's just jump straight into it.
Here is our game plan for today. We'll hit understanding hydatid disease, transmission and life cycle, symptoms and human risks, prevention and environment control, and wrap up with hygiene, PPE, and exposure.
Section 1, Understanding Hydatid Disease. So what exactly is Echinococcus granulosus? It sounds like some complicated spell from Harry Potter, right? But when we're talking about Hydatid disease, we're actually dealing with an infection caused by this specific, incredibly stubborn parasitic tapeworm. And yes, you absolutely need to know that scientific name for your exam.
Echinococcus granulosus. The disease it triggers is Hydatid disease, sometimes called echinococcosis. Now, what really blows my mind here is the scale. We are talking about a microscopic tapeworm. It's literally just 3 to 6 millimeters long in its adult stage. It only has, well, maybe 3 or 4 segments total. But hey, don't let the tiny size fool you. The eggs this little tapeworm pumps out are practically bomb-proof. They are incredibly resistant to environmental factors, which is exactly what makes it such a massive zoonotic threat.
Picture the adult worm for a second. It's got a scolex, that's the head, which is completely armed with this nasty ring of hooks and suckers. It uses those to just anchor itself into the host's intestinal wall. Right behind the neck is a chain of segments called the strobila. As these segments mature and get pushed to the back end, they become gravid. Basically, that means they are absolutely packed with fertilized eggs. Eventually, these segments just drop off the end of the worm and get passed right out into the environment in the host species. Now, before we get into the whole spreading mechanism, you need to drill this quote into your memory for the New Zealand context. Because of decades of super strict control measures, we actually haven't seen hydatid cysts in slaughter animals here since 2001. We're officially considered provisionally hydatid-free. But, and this is a huge but, we are still operating under a Controlled Area Notice, or a CAN. The threat hasn't vanished, and as animal care workers, you're the ones who have to stay on high alert to stop it from clawing its way back into our ecosystem. Section 2, Transmission and Life Cycle. For your Unit 1989-4 assessment, you have got to memorize this life cycle. It's a two-host system. Dogs are what we call the definitive host, meaning that's where the adult tapeworm actually lives and matures. Sheep, and unfortunately, accidentally humans, are the intermediate hosts. We don't get the adult worm in our gut. Instead, we're the ones who develop those dangerous fluid-filled cysts in our internal organs after swallowing the eggs. So, dog eats infected sheep tissue, the worm matures in the dog poops out the eggs, a sheep or human accidentally eats the eggs, and boom, cysts start forming. It's a continuous loop. The dog passes the egg-filled segments into the grass, a sheep wanders by, grazes on that contaminated pasture, and eats the eggs. The eggs hatch, break through the sheep's intestine, and set up camp in the liver or lungs to form a cyst. Then, when a farm dog is fed that raw, infected sheep offal, the whole cycle just starts over. Humans, though, we're a total biological dead end. We accidentally get dragged into this loop by unknowingly swallowing those super resilient eggs left behind in the environment. So how exactly are people eating these microscopic eggs? It really just comes down to accidental ingestion. You might pat an infected dog, the eggs are clinging to its fur, and then you touch your mouth. Boom. It also happens indirectly, like eating unwashed veggies grown in contaminated soil or drinking from a bad water source. Now listen closely to this part because it's a massive trap on the exam. You do not get hydatid disease by eating the cysts themselves in meat. Got it? Humans are infected purely by eating the microscopic eggs from the environment. Section 3, Symptoms and Human Risks. This right here is absolutely crucial to understand. A dog carrying literally hundreds of these adult tapeworms in its gut will usually show zero clinical signs, nothing. They look totally fine. But if a human swallows those eggs, it's a whole different ballgame. Most human cysts are actually picked up in childhood and then just silently grow inside the organs for anywhere from 5 to 20 years before they're ever found. And as they grow, they create this immense mechanical pressure, causing severe tissue damage, and if left untreated, serious illness or even death. It's such a bizarre, kind of terrifying dynamic. The dog is just running around, living its best life, completely clueless, while the human, the accidental host, ends up in a hospital bed needing major surgery. It's a really stark reminder of why we treat asymptomatic dogs. We're not actually doing it to cure the dog. We're doing it to save human lives.
When those symptoms finally do show up in humans, it really depends on where the cyst decided to park itself. The liver and lungs are the big ones. If a cyst is swelling up in the liver, the patient is going to have some serious abdominal pain. If it's in the lungs and that cyst ruptures, that is a massive medical emergency. They might start coughing up blood and feeling awful chest pain. And while it's less common, these things can even end up in the brain, the heart, the kidneys, and even your bones.
Section 4. Prevention and Environment Control.
All right, grab your highlighters because this is prime exam material. The New Zealand Hydatid Act is incredibly strict. First up, it is 100% illegal to feed dogs raw offal. No lungs, no heart, no liver, no untreated sheep or goat meat whatsoever. Second, any on-farm home-killing facility has to be completely dog-proof to stop scavenging. Third, any meat you do feed to dogs has to be cooked to 72 degrees Celsius or frozen. And finally, dogs in at-risk environments have to get dosed every 6 weeks with a specific pesticide called praziquantel. You probably know it as Droncit. Let me stop you right there, though, because I see students mess this up all the time. Just tossing meat in a standard fridge at -4 degrees Celsius, that won't do a thing to the cysts. Treating it with formalin? Nope, doesn't kill them in the meat. To actually make sheep meat safe for a dog to eat, it has to be deep frozen at -10 degrees Celsius for 7 full days. Anything less than that, and you're just keeping the life cycle going.
But obviously, managing the environment is just as crucial. Like we said, these eggs are tough. Once they're in the dirt, they're really hard to get rid of. So we have to stop them from getting there in the first place. That means educating people to stop their dogs from roaming around and scavenging dead animals. It means being absolutely ruthless about picking up dog poop and tossing it safely. And it means keeping dogs in specified areas at parks to contain any potential mess.
Section 5. Hygiene, PPE, and exposure. Standard operating procedure in any clinic or, frankly, anywhere with animals requires perfect hygiene. You've got to wash your hands like a pro after handling any dog. Since the soil can harbor these eggs for up to a year, you must wear gloves when gardening or touching dirt that might have feces in it. At home, scrub your veggies and fruits. And this is a big one. Do not let kids play with young puppies unless you are 100% certain those pups have been properly wormed.
But what if the absolute worst happens and someone actually develops a hydatid cyst? The go-to medical fix is surgical removal. But guys, this is a wildly delicate surgery. Inside that cyst is this fascinatingly horrific stuff doctors call hydatid sand, which is basically thousands of microscopic free-floating brood capsules that can each grow into a brand new cyst. So before the surgeon even tries to take it out, they have to inject the cyst with formalin to kill it all. If they slip up and that cyst pops without being sterilized, that sand spills everywhere, and the patient could end up with dozens of new cysts sprouting all over their organs. Just awful.
So that's the whole shebang. Review these slides, make sure you can explain the difference between a definitive and an intermediate host in your sleep. Memorize those Hydatid Act rules and know your PPE. Do that and you are going to absolutely crush Unit 1980-94. But beyond the exam, I really want you to ask yourself, as the next generation of animal care professionals, are you ready to be the frontline barrier keeping this invisible, ancient parasite from threatening New Zealand?